In this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own custom UI for your LiveKit AI voice agent, in this case your JARVIS AI voice agent.
Hey David, good to hear from you again. How can I assist you today?
Can you tell me a joke?
Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field.
Oh my god.
And I'm going to show you how to deploy your AI agent into the cloud so you don't have to run it locally anymore and you can access it from anywhere, anytime you want. So now our AI agent is deployed on the internet and I can even access it through my phone.
Hey David, how's it going? Last time we had a laugh together. Do you feel like hearing another joke today?
Please don't. So let's get started.
So firstly, we would need to access the UI template from LiveKit itself. And for this we can Google LiveKit agent starter react. Then we can click on the first link. And here we have the GitHub of the entire project. And if you scroll down, you can see how it's going to look like. And it's going to implement all of the functions that you have in the playground as well. But it looks way better. And on top of that, it's also very well animated. And additionally, it's also created in a way that it's easily configurable, so you can change it, for example, aesthetically, so it fits your use case better. So for example, it can look something like this, where you also have a very well animated background, and it just fits the aesthetics of a JARVIS AI voice agent. But before that, we would also need to install Node.js because we're going to use it in our project. If you already have Node.js installed, you can skip this part, but if you don't, you can simply Google Node.js and then you can click on the first link as well. You can go down to this button, click on this button, then you can simply select your operating system and then you can click on this button to download the installer. Once you downloaded the installer, you can also install it like this, like any other software. I already installed this, so I'm simply going to cancel this. And after you did that, you can open a new terminal. And then you can type in node.-v to see the version that you installed. And additionally, we also would have to install pnpm with this command over here. We can type in npm install-g pnpm and to install that. I already installed this, so I'm not going to do that. After you installed that, you can type in pnpm again -v to see the version that you installed as well. I will install this version here. And next, we would need to install LiveKit CLI with this command here. winget install livekit.livekit CLI. You can simply copy this command and then you can type that into your terminal as well. I already also installed this, so I'm not going to do that. That's the same thing that I actually did for the section in my first video that I did with the app deployment. If you already did that, you don't have to reinstall this, but if you don't, you can simply use this command here to install LiveKit CLI. And once you did that, we are finally done with the setup. And then we can simply go ahead back to to the GitHub repository. You can either use this command here to install this app or to download the app. But in my last video, or in the first video that I made in the series, a lot of people had problems with this lk command with the LiveKit CLI. So instead of doing that, I'm simply going to download this code base by going to this button over here. And then I'm going to download the zip file. And then I'm going to open this in the download folder. And then we can simply extract this folder. And here we have the folder. And here's the entire project that we have. And then we can simply copy this folder here to everywhere we want. And then we can open it in our IDE. So here I have the project now open in Cursor instead of VS Code because we're going to vibe code the front end so it fits our use case better. In case you don't know what vibe coding is, it's basically using AI to create the code for your project. And Cursor is actually an optimized version or fork of VS Code that is optimized for vibe coding, so that's why I'm using it in this case. You can also use VS Code if you want to with Copilot, but this just works a little bit better, so that's why I'm using it. If you want to use Cursor, you can simply go to the browser and Google Cursor and then download it like any other software and then install it as well. It's also really easy to do. So here in this project, we now have all of the files from the front end, and the first thing we need to do is that we need to create a new file, and that's the .env file, and we need to call it .env local. And then here we also have an example file, and there's some code that we can just copy, and then we can put it into the .env.local file. And here's where we would need to insert your LiveKit API key, secret, and URL that you have from your AI agent. I'm gonna quickly paste it in. Then we can save this. And the next thing we would need to do is that we need to open a new terminal. New terminal, PowerShell. And then I would need to install all of the dependencies of this project. And for this, we need pnpm that we installed in the beginning, pnpm install. And then we need to press enter. And now this already works. So we can now call this or open this project by typing pnpm dev. And now it's running on localhost 3000, and we can already open this. So this is what the UI looks like, and we can already start our conversation by clicking this button over here. But make sure to run your AI agent in dev mode so we can connect to it. So we can click this button now.
Good evening, David. How can I assist you today?
So as you can see, it works, and we can enable, for example, the camera by clicking this button over here. Let me open the camera here. And we can also open the chat here so you can see what the AI agent said. Or we can type something in like, hi, how are you? We can send it.
Positively splendid. Thank you for asking. And yourself?
And we can also talk to it, of course, by enabling the microphone. Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, just living the dream of a digital assistant. Ready to serve your every whim. How are you, sir?
Alright, so now we can actually go ahead and customize this so it fits our use case better. There are already a couple of things that we can change right away in a config file, and you can find it over here, and it's called app-config.ts. And you can see here there are a couple of things we can change right away. So for example, the page title. So instead of LiveKit voice agent, we can call it Friday voice agent. And we can change also the company name to Friday, and also the page description to your advanced AI voice assistant. And you can also change, for example, the text that is displayed on the start button. So instead of saying start call, we can say talk to Friday. Can save this already by pressing Ctrl S, and if we go back to the front end, you can see now that it changed to talk to Friday, and up here also, maybe it's a little bit small, but you can see the title changed to Friday voice agent. And another thing that we can change here is, of course, for example, this logo here or this logo over here. So we can also change that in this config file. So for example, here is the logo that was shown in the left upper corner, and we can simply change that as well by going to the public folder, and then we can simply insert here a different image that we can swap out with this logo. So let me quickly copy this from somewhere. So I'm gonna copy this and then put it in here. It's called arcreactor.png. That's basically an image of the arc reactor. Then I can go back to the app-config file, and I can say arc reactor png as well as here. I can save this, and then I can go back, and you can see here is now the arc reactor displayed. I also want to change this, and I also want to remove these texts here because I don't want to have these. And this is where cursor actually comes into play, because If you're not a developer, you might have trouble finding where this actually is. So you can simply go to cursor and ask the chat. So let's say we want to remove this part here. So we can simply copy this text and then we can say to cursor, where in this project is this section. And it found it here in this layout file. So we can click on this file and then we can see here that there's a section that actually displays this part. So we can simply go ahead and delete this. We can save that as well. And then we can go back to the front end and you can see this is now gone. And we can do the same here with this part here. We can copy this text. We can simply ask this again. Where is the section with this text? Now it found its section as well, so we can go to this file here and you can find the section. We can also remove this simply, and then we can save that, go back to the front end, and you can see this is also gone. So let's say I also want to change this text over here, but I don't want to look it up where it is. So I can also ask cursor here, so I can go ahead and ask, for example, here, this text. Swap out this text wherever it is with this text, and I want to have the text chat with the advanced Friday agent instead. So here we can see that it found the text and it's also trying to swap out the text with the new text, and we can either keep this change or we can discard it. So we can click here to keep it all, and now this is changed. We can save that as well, or it's actually already saved. And we can see now it says chat with the advanced Friday agent. So before we continue, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, TestSprite, which is an AI tool that allows you to automatically test your software project. So since we are using Cursor to vibe code, we are creating a lot of code with AI, and in order to test if it's robust, we can use TestSprite for that. And the cool thing here now is that you can easily add TestSprite to Cursor using MCP servers with just a few clicks. And for this, you can simply click here on install now, and then you can click on add to cursor, which allows you to automatically open cursor here. And here's where you can install TestSprite to cursor, but you would need an API key here, which you can find in this dashboard. And down here, you can click on API keys, where you can also create API key, and then you can simply copy it, and then you can paste it in here, which allows you to install TestSprite now. Now you have access to all the tools for testing your application, and you can simply test the application by just asking cursor, can you test my app using TestSprite? We can now start this whole process by clicking run here. And this now opens the site for you where you can do a couple of configurations about your testing. For example, you can specify if you want to test your backend or your frontend. In this case, since we are creating a frontend, we're going to select frontend, and here I can click on continue now. It will now continue to execute some tools to test your applications here, and you can always click here on run to execute that. Now you can see here it's starting to run 15 tests. And in here, if you click on MCP tests, you can actually see all of the tests that are currently running on our front end. And in the end, you even get a very detailed test report like this, which describes what it actually tested for. And you can see how this is quite a game changer, because you can practically outsource most of your testing to TestSprite without doing anything. So thanks again to TestSprite for sponsoring this section. And now back to the video. So if I now want to swap this out, I actually found in the code where this is. So here it is. And we can also directly reference this to cursor as well. We can mark this, and then we can press Ctrl L to add this to the chat. And then we can ask, can you replace this with an image of the file in the public folder called argreactor.png and make it 265 by 265. Now we can ask this. Now you can see it swapped out the section for the image that I want to have here, and I can click on keep all to keep this change. And then if I go to the browser now, you can see here I have this icon instead of the other one. So currently our background looks kind of bland, and now I want to add nice animations to this. And this is actually where the magic happens with vibe coding, because what I can do is I can go to cursor, and then I can press this button over here to upload a image to the chat. So the image I want to use is this image over here. And it looks something like a heads-up display. So instead of me now having to explain to the AI what I want, how this should look like, I could simply upload an image to the chat and tell it, hey, animate the background so it looks something like this. So now I can go ahead and select this image. I can then tell it, so can you change the background of this app so it looks something like this image? The elements of this image should be animated and the background should also be slightly blurred out. Make it slightly darker than the image. For this, please create a new UI component and add it to the app.tsx. And now we can just ask it to do this. And this is going to take a while because it needs to create a lot of code. Now it's actually done, and you can see all of the changes here that it made. You can click on this button over here to review the changes, but we can just go ahead and click on this button here to keep all the changes. And now the changes are saved, and then we can go back to our front end. So it looks like it didn't work, but if we actually click on this button over here, we can see that there are animations, but they are simply just behind a different layer apparently, so that's why we can't see it. So we can actually talk to cursor again to fix this issue. So we can go back and then type it into the chat. So I simply asked cursor, the animated background is only visible once I pressed the button, what is the problem? And it immediately went ahead and fixed this issue. So now if we go back to the UI, you can see here all of these nice animations. Of course, they don't look exactly the same as the other example, but you can actually talk to cursor again if you want to change something, and it's going to immediately do that for you. So you can simply play around with this. And as you can see, if you press this button, everything still works.
Good evening, David. How can I assist you today? Are we still having some trouble with playing your favorite song? Let me know and we can sort that out.
Can you tell me the weather in Vienna?
It's a pleasant 23 degrees Celsius in Vienna with some clouds gracing the sky.
So now if you want to deploy your Jarvis agent into the cloud, so you don't have to run this program in dev mode locally on your PC all the time, and you can access it from anywhere, anytime you want, what we have to do for that is we have to go back to our agent project folder, and then we have to type in a new command here, which is lk cloud authentication. Now we have to give it a unique name. Let's call this Friday Jarvis 1. Now we have to select a project folder to which we have to give it access to. You can simply select the project folder that you created in the beginning. I'm going to select tutorial here, and then we can click allow access. Then we can close this window, and then we can go back to VS Code. Now we'll ask you if you want to use this as your default project. I'm going to select no here by pressing enter. Now I have to give this a unique name again. You probably don't have to do this because I already did this multiple times. So I used the name tutorial already. So I'm going to type in tutorial Friday Jarvis 1. Now we have to use a different command, which is lk agent create. Now we have to select the project folder in which we want to deploy our agent into. I'm going to select tutorial again by pressing enter. Now it's going to ask you if you want to create a subdomain. I'm going to say no here, and then select the same folder again. Now you have to select your .env file where you have all your API keys saved into. And now you have to select the file in which you have the entry point function, which is the agent.py file. And now it's going to deploy this agent into the cloud. And this is going to take a few minutes. So now now it's done. And here it asks you if you want to see the logs of this deployment. I'm going to select no here. And what we can do now is we can open a browser, go into our LiveKit account, and then select the project folder which we deployed our agent into. And then we can click here on agents. And here you can see now there's one agent deployed. And we can also use a sandbox application here to access this. So we can click on sandbox, and then we can click on web voice agent. Then we can click on create sandbox. Then we have to give this a name. Let's call this Friday Jarvis, and then click on create. Then we can close this, and then we can click here on launch. And as you can see, this is the exact template UI that we customized in the beginning and used in the beginning. So we can simply talk to our agent by clicking start call.
Hey, David. Good to talk to you again. How can I assist you today?
How are you doing?
Exquisitely, though I suspect you're just being polite, David.
I am actually, yeah.
Ah, what a rare admission, David. Should I mark this momentous occasion in the calendar?
The cool thing here now is that you have actually a unique URL to this. As long as you have this URL, you can actually talk to your AI agent. Again, it's now deployed in the internet, so you can do that whenever you want actually. So you can now, for example, copy this URL and then send it to your friends so you can try out your cool creation actually. So as you can see, I can access our JARVIS app like any other website through a URL, and I can now start the conversation by clicking this button.
Hey, David. Great to talk to you again. How can I assist you today?
Can you tell me the weather in Vienna?
Of course. Let me fetch the current weather in Vienna for you, sir. Vienna is basking in a balmy 16 degrees C with some lovely clouds.
So as you can see, you can simply copy this link and then share it with your friends so you can try out your agent as well. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. As always, if you're a business owner and you're looking to build a voice agent similar to what I built in this video or in past videos, you can get in touch with me through the contact information in the video description. And if there's any feature you want to see in the future part, just leave a comment down below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.